Hello, Kansas City. Hello, America. And hello to the world. Welcome to the latest edition of the Heart and Goal podcast. And boy, do we have a special one today. It's me, just me, with the mayor. Mayor Q. Quentin Lucas is here today. Mayor, how are you?
I am doing great. Excited for the World Cup in Kansas City. Good to be back with you too, brother.
It's awesome. And we're going to talk about the conversations you and I have had about this moment going back to about a year ago this time. But I want to set everything out there first off because we are getting closer and closer away. We're just a couple of weeks away from the largest event in the history of the world coming to Kansas City. The World Cup 2026 is right around the corner. And so who better to talk about it than the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri? And we have a lot of things to discuss. I want to remind everybody this show is about the heart of America and the sport of soccer and bringing it all together. That's why we call it Heart and Goal. Please go back and check out all the previous episodes. We've had Pam Kramer and Cliff Illig and Alan Dietrich and Matt Beasler, Benny Feilhaber, Graham Zusi, Roger Espinoza, all these great people on. And those will help you get ready for this World Cup. Also, please be sure to like, subscribe, write a review, and let everybody know about the show because we want people from around the world who might be curious about Kansas City to be checking out this podcast as well because we're getting you ready for what Mayor Lucas told me in the interview I did for the book. If you want to know the story of American soccer, it's the story of Kansas City. That is one of the quotes I have from you in this book. So you and I, as I said, we sat down about this time a year ago for an hour for that book, and we talked about what's coming up.
Yep.
Can you believe now that it's like days away? When you hear that, when you think about that, what goes through your mind?
You know, I think just last weekend, I was maybe playing with my kids. I was around somewhere, and I'm like, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. You are now seeing up outside of the Hotel for Argentina. They have a banner wrap with their club. Like they have so many things going on around the country or around the city. It is real. It is exciting. And actually, this is the fun part. I would say the last, year, several years, you're trying to get money. You're trying to make sure everything's all right. This is that point where I feel like for those who've been married, you're about to walk down the aisle. You bought the stuff. You might as well have a whole lot of fun for a day.
Yeah. Oh, boy. When you take me back to my wedding day, I think that was the most nervous I've ever been in my life.
Yep.
Up until the moment when they opened the doors and I saw my wife at the end of the church. And then everything went from nerves to joy. And it went on to be the happiest day of my life. And man, I hadn't really thought about that analogy as you say this, because I guess I'll admit I'm still a little nervous. I'm still anxious about, I want this to go great. I want us to be ready. I want the world to be coming here and enjoying it. And I think there is a lot of angst for people as we get closer. Then once it starts, I think it's just going to turn into pure joy.
No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, I think there are a few different things that get people worried. One, obviously, there are the haters, and I won't call them all haters. Some people are just doing what they think is
the skeptics, maybe.
The skeptics.
Okay, here
Look
we
at
go.
him, a good media guy.
I could be a politician.
Right? You're ready for it, man. Yes, the ones who are saying, we won't figure out transportation, the hotels, it won't work out, the businesses. I know a lot of the people who've been behind this planning, though. And for example, on transportation, we have built up a bus system, a transportation in this system that frankly we should keep around forever afterwards. It is exceptional. On the accommodation side of things in Kansas City, our hotel partners, I think they're big boys and big girls. They're realistic. They're setting prices as they need to. I think you're going to see sellouts there. And I think, frankly, from the public safety side, you are seeing a city and a region really that is more than ready. Yesterday, I was at an event with the governor of Kansas, and we had a chance to kind of talk about how this is really taking over the region now, how it feels like it's that ready or not, here we come moment. And I think that Kansas City is going to figure it out because, frankly, we have done a good job of that for the last 150 years.
I want to explore every one of those things that you just talked about, and I'm trying to decide which way to go first. What I do want to say is this. Politicians don't need to be sports fans necessarily.
That's right.
But I read about you that as a high school kid, didn't you write one of your like term papers on the Kansas City Chiefs and whether or not they would ever make it to the what was that paper about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl or how they were going to break our hearts every year in the playoffs?
Exactly. Like you remember, and like a lot of us who are good Kansas Cityans remember, we remember Marty Ball. By then, I think it's probably Gunther Cunningham, and just this view. And I still remember, and I think we all got hit upside the head like this because I used to, you'd like either be in church or somewhere else and be like, I just pray God if the Chiefs win, it's going. Your mama's like, you ain't supposed to be praying about that.
Yeah.
But no, I was so into them, super fan. I mean, like a lot of people around this region, right? You may not have a lot, but you have that Chiefs game every Sunday. Back then, they were almost all on Sundays. And, so I ended up writing about kind of just the Chiefs themselves. I don't know if I saw myself as a sports writer or what, but I think back then I understood the impact that team and its success could have on a community. I'm of that generation where it was really the Chiefs I got to see. I know some guys have the Royals of the 80s and 70s to kind of be their part, and obviously kids today have great runs both from the Royals and Chiefs. But I think that really centered me on where sports can matter, where it can lift up a community, and something we said before, where it could bring people together. I still remember some of those games I used to go back to in the 90s, and we were upper deck people, and you would see everybody, every background in our city, every part of our city and region and rural area. And, no matter how different we looked, what we did during the week, how we prayed or whatever, everybody was about that team. And really it meant more about our community.
That's kind of what I wanted to get at because, the heart and goal thing, the sense of pride that this town has of wearing the Heart KC on their chest, nothing gives this town more pride and self-esteem than the success of the sports teams, in my opinion, and nothing brings a really divided city together like the success of the sports teams. And I'm thinking about when I've been lucky enough to host different watch parties in the Power and Light District. I'll never forget the first Chiefs Super Bowl, standing there, and I even made a comment as I looked out into the crowd and thought, and I said to everybody, look at everybody around you right now, because no one cares if you're from the Kansas side or the Missouri side, or from the Northland or from the, we're all Kansas City here today and we're celebrating. And I'm curious for you if that is a big part of the job, is understanding the role that sports play in the collective, self-confidence and trajectory of this town.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two things about sports that are just reality no matter what other people are trying to push. One, sports are economic development for a community, just full stop. The thing that gets a lot of people, I still teach over in Lawrence, Kansas, right? A huge thing that gets tens of thousands of people there every year relates to sporting events. It is otherwise a delightful town and it is lovely, but that is a great anchor to getting people there. Same for Columbia, same for Manhattan, and frankly, the same for Kansas City. So that's step one. Step two is that, this is the thing that still brings communities together. I mean, I can give Kansas City examples, but I'll give an even different one. And heck, it's the movie and book Invictus in South Africa. I studied in Cape Town, South Africa. Obviously, I wasn't there in 1995, I believe, when they won the Rugby World Cup. But you still saw this country where you had racially separation by law. And you have people who grew up in that, but today are together saying, let's root for the national soccer team, Bafana Bafana, or the Springboks, the rugby team. I mean, you have that sort of vibe. You see it in other sports. New York City right now is having a blast with the Knicks, right? Making it to the NBA Finals again.
First time in 27 years.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And you see this in big, sophisticated places, in small towns. And frankly, the New York example is a good one because sometimes people try to say, maybe it's a small town thing about Kansas City with that. I don't think that's the case. Sports bring people together. They bring whole countries together. They bring communities together. And that's why I think the World Cup is what it is. It isn't just about soccer. It's about your country gets a chance to represent something. Everybody learns where these guys and gals are from. Everybody learns some things about them. And that's what, to me, I think becomes so exciting.
So you and I were talking about this before we started the conversation on the podcast about this kind of thing I've been thinking about a lot as I've been exploring the city and trying to okay, what do I want to tell people from around the world about Kansas City? And I keep coming back to this incredible, how incredibly contradictory this town can be from times. I mean, a town that was initially divided by a state line and civil war,
Yeah.
but also incredibly united when we come together to do things like try to get the World Cup here. A city that is incredibly diverse, but can be incredibly segregated at the same time. A city that can be incredibly progressive, but at the same time faces pushback anytime you want to move something forward. A city that has a very urban core, but a very rural history to it. These contradictions kind of swirl together. And when you're the mayor, that all lands at your desk, right?
Yeah.
Like you see all those things as you're trying to prepare for something like this.
You do every day. And frankly, to me, it is exciting. And don't get me wrong, I ain't going to mislead you. It is frustrating sometimes because sometimes you're saying, look, I did this, this, and this. Why aren't you happy with this? But you realize there are a lot of different communities. And frankly, that makes us better. You know, there was an old mayor of New York City who used to talk about a gorgeous mosaic, this view of all these different people and personalities that really kind of make the community what it is. And I think Kansas City in every way has that. The first, though, most important thing I think a good leader does in any arena is that you just like kick the door down on those divisions. Because let's think about how people really live. I'm going to use my mom as example, who, you know, is kind of half retired, but some days I'll be like, hey, what you doing today? And she's like, I'm going to the Joann fabric store in Olathe. She lives by Raytown. I'm like, what? She's like, oh yeah, my thing was needed there and all of that. Like she lives in a world of no lines because normal people don't, right? She's making the quilt. And so you're getting around place to place. You see that with a kid who's playing whatever sport. I have a friend who I worked with at KU. Her kid swims in Lee's Summit, right? She lives in Lawrence. I mean, it's kind of that nature of it. And then when you talk about diversity in really its broadest sense of people coming together, I see that too. We're a city that wants to be successful. I think by and large, we want to see our peers succeed. So even where there is that sort of like difference, we're all saying, hey, how can this company do well? How can we make sure this person's going someplace? Whenever we have a Kansas City kid in the Olympics, and I know you're a Wyandotte guy, when we've had you guys in the Olympics in sprinting.
Maurice Green, fastest man in the history of the world at one point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were all claiming him. We were
Yep.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care where I'm like, he's a Kansas Cityan just like
Yeah.
I am, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is what you see and do well. And probably the hardest part sometimes is you got to remind, actually not the regular people, they get it. You got to remind the politicians sometimes that at the end of the day, nobody really, I hate to say it, but nobody really cares. You know, you want to make sure, your local cops and firefighters and all of that are taken care of. You want to make sure all the things that are needed for your community are good. But you also realize, look, if this whole place is lifting, frankly, as I think it has been the last 10 years, then this is a better place for everybody to be. And if that means, we're going to have the greatest team in the world potentially practicing in KCK, another great team in Riverside, another great team in KCMO, like that's awesome. And another very good country in Lawrence, right? That's the sort of thing that I think lifts all of us, lifts our brand and our ability to be successes long term.
When I get to bring soccer broadcasters from other countries to Kansas City, when they come for a Sporting Kansas City game or a KC Current game, one of the things that they're most intrigued by is State Line Road.
They are.
They want to go see State Line Road because they're like, wait a second, explain this to me. That's a different city in a different state. Are there different laws and all these things? And so it's a hard city to put your finger on. And when you talked about, you're meeting with the governor of Kansas right now. You've got a responsibility to your people in Kansas City, Missouri. But I think there's also seems to be an understanding that if the metro area and the region benefits from this, we all stand to gain. So how have you and the other mayors just in this area worked together to make sure everybody gets some kind of benefit that carries on from this World Cup?
You know, I think step one, and I'll say this just from my perspective, right? We're the biggest city. They flash my bald head on the news too much, right? All that sort of stuff. You got to get past your ego first. You got to be willing to say, and I think, I did this and I appreciate KC 2026 for inviting us. We had these kind of kickoff summer parties last year. One was in downtown Kansas City. For some reason, I couldn't make it. The other was in Overland Park out by the Sprint T-Mobile campus, Asperia campus, rather. And I went out to the one in OP. And it was awesome. And I was walking around and talking to people, and they were kind of like, oh, hey, thanks for being out here. And kind of talking to them and showing this is a real deal for all of us. So one, you got to break through egos. Two, you got to just show up. And I think you have to be realistic for like, yeah, what can every community be a part of? And I have loved that a lot of what we've done in this World Cup is saying, hey, there's a really cool downtown in Lee Summit. Let's make sure that they have a chance to do a good engagement that can get people out that way. We're going to make something for every community. I know both states have been good at investing in that. I think that's one part of it. I think another part of it is sharing how this whole soccer capital of America thing is something that exists in every one of our communities. For me, in some ways, that's been learning personally more about soccer and learning about, it's part of KCMO, but I didn't grow up going to it, the historic Northeast, Independence Avenue, the ethnic communities there, and being kind of like, this is cool. And I met some Haitian guys and their kids talking about the beautiful game. I mean, it's listening to stories, it's helping center them, it's giving them a way to be connected. And I think that's how people have done it best. And I've been proud of our regional mayors because I think all of them have largely gotten that. I haven't been in meetings where somebody says, if it's not in Lenexa, then I refuse to be a part. Instead, everybody's saying, you know what, this is about all of us. The success of every other place is going to make a difference. And I'll just add this one little thing. As a dad now, who's always looking for a place to go, but where my 5-year-old won't run off, sometimes I like the thing in a Lee Summit or a Parkville instead.
Yeah, a little something for everybody. I mean, there's going to be places where the grown-ups want to party. There's going to be places where you want to take your family. There's going to be everything in between. I think FanFest will have a lot of all of the above and different events that you can kind of plan out as you go. I want to get into transportation. So you talked about some of the different things that you're hearing the skeptics come forward. Listen, I travel a lot in this country. I get to see the cities that have great mass transportation and the ones that don't necessarily have a robust mass transportation system. Kansas City's a town where most people have their cars and they go where they need to go. What has Kansas City done to make sure that the people that are coming here can get around to the whole sprawling metropolitan area? And is it available to people that live here that want to explore? Yeah. Can you talk to us about what maybe we've gotten right when it comes to transportation for this? Because you also mentioned it's something maybe that we can carry forward after the World Cup.
Let me just start as a threshold. This streetcar is a game changer, and a game changer in more ways than you might ever imagine. This weekend, there was a current game down on the riverfront. I didn't have a ticket. I was going to hang with the in-laws later. I just told my wife, hey, I'm going to just go over, catch the streetcar, see what it's like. It was packed to the gills with people. And on the train, while we're like next to each other, as you've probably experienced in other cities covering sports or what have you, I kind of talked to people, where are you from? One lady said, oh, yeah, I'm actually from Shawnee. Another person is just like, yeah, we live out in far South KC, like 123rd Street. And I saw that this is a new connection. Yeah, pretty full for a match, right? But what I see is that spine already will be great at getting people from the downtown to Plaza Stretch, Riverfront, and others. So it builds some of that public transit that you see corridor-based in other cities. In terms of the broader transit network, I think what we recognized correctly was to say, yeah, we're not just going to lament that we don't have a bus system, perhaps, that gets everybody as quickly where we'd like them to be. We're just going to build it our dang selves. And so rather than having the fight over New Jersey and New York about a $120 like train ticket from Manhattan to the New Jersey Meadowlands, we've got free buses that take you from the airport to downtown Kansas City, get you into your hotel network. I believe it's free or a reduced cost that gets you from down at the airport to Johnson County, the Overland Park Convention Center. And frankly, you have these lines, and this is still the most amazing to me. I was at a press conference in Lenexa, and somebody showed me that you can get from Liberty to the downtown stop to Lenexa in like 35 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, if that existed all the time. The amazing things that could exist in this area. And the amazing thing about it is, you don't have to have a ticket for most of that stuff on all the days. To get a ride to the stadium, you're going to need one, but otherwise, in the system, you don't. So what I hope Kansas Cityans take the chance to do is to say, I haven't been to name your place in a little while. I'd like to check out what they've got going on. I hear, heck, a place I like to get to and don't get to enough, historic downtown Parkville, cute shops.
Amazing place.
Beautiful place, right?
Yeah.
And so, having people say, how do I get a trek up there? Let me explore. And I think that is really the exciting part for World Cup summer in Kansas City. You can have an exceptional summer of World Cup without going to a single match. And I think that will be one of the great successes of KC 2026.
Okay, so transportation is one of the big questions. You also touched on hotels. There's been numbers that have come out, that maybe it's not reaching the levels that people thought that it would. And obviously some of that's going to come down to the wire too. And I think some of it's going to be very circumstantial based on who advances in the competition and things like that. But you mentioned it a little bit. What is your answer to the people that are saying, hey, we are not seeing the impact that we were hoping to from a long-term standpoint?
So I think patience is a key part of step one. You and I have had the fortune through different roles of going to some pretty darn big events. And, none of the Super Bowls I had the blessing of going to did I have Super Bowl tickets a month out. Even if I thought the team was great in going there, right? You kind of see how your team does. If your team makes it, then you're booking a bunch of stuff, then you're figuring some of that out. I think that will be some of it, particularly for our round of 32 and quarterfinal, although you may predict some matches in there. But nonetheless, I think that's part of it. And then I think even for the bigger, for the games that are already set, you're having people who are still thinking about, all right, am I going? When do I book, et cetera. The other thing is actually the data points we're seeing in really the last 2 weeks. We all dealt with, as did other American cities, the fact that FIFA had a bunch of hotel rooms. They canceled those hotel rooms. That led to a flood in the market. And around that time, you started seeing reporting that suggested nothing's going to be full. What we are seeing now is lots of people that are coming to travel. We're getting great regional travel. I was over at Enterprise Rental Car in St. Louis a few weeks back, talked to an executive there. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm coming with my son. A bunch of people here are doing that. I think you're going to see wonderful regional numbers. You're seeing the international numbers tick up, particularly because of the affordability of our market as compared to some others. And I expect it to be strong and robust. I always thought that this is a World Cup, though, that isn't just for the world, but it's also for Kansas City. And so as long as we do that right balance, which is, there was critique during the NFL draft that, businesses weren't helped enough, all of that. I thought it went very well. But one thing we don't want people to do is just go home and be scared of the crowds. Embrace it. Embrace the fact that we have new people who want to learn about our community. And in the same way that you share how cool this community is to your relatives, your cousins, to people you meet somewhere else, this is our chance to do it when they're all here.
I think that's a huge point that you made about some people maybe avoided downtown and the crossroads during the NFL draft because it was almost like it's going to be too crowded. I don't want to deal with all the chaos. And there's a kind of a double-edged sword there because one of the things that I've never been to the World Cup. This is the first time I ever go to a World Cup match, even as a lifelong soccer fan, is going to be when it's in my hometown. So when people ask me what to expect, I say, look, I don't know. I've never been to one, let alone one in my hometown. I just know what other people tell me. But what we hear all the time is, you guys are not ready. It's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen before in your life. It's going to be crazy, which some people could look at and say, I can't wait to be a part of it. But other people could look at it and say, okay, I'm going to stay away from downtown then because it might be too crazy. And I think that's a big messaging, isn't it, to get out there that, by the way, this city is going to be open for the city to enjoy.
Yeah.
For if you live in Overland Park, if you live up north, make sure you come to the different engagements and areas because you're going to enjoy it, and don't let the idea of how big it's going to be scare you from being a part of it yourself, because this is for Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, this is first thing that you note is so true. How often is the World Cup going to be in our city? And I'm an internal optimist, but this may be my one shot in life.
All right.
And what I want us to be able to do is to say not only that we rocked it as a city, but that I was able to cherish it with myself, my wife, my family, my kids. And I think that's the thing that I encourage people to do. The other thing is, what safer space to explore something like this than your own hometown? Right? This isn't you spending $8,000, $10,000 to get over to Paris and then spending more to get to the matches and all of that. Although that's nice if you got it. But instead, it allows you to say, hey, maybe I want to try out a match with teams I might not even know that well, or go to a fan engagement, or march with the Dutch fans, or something like that, right? I mean, that's the thing that's cool for me. And I'll make this comparison that probably doesn't work as an analogy, but a few years ago, I was at that, I think it's the Corn Ferry Tour. I was at that at Blue Hills Country Club.
Yeah, it's a great event.
It was a great event. Yeah. And I was just there as mayor, and I was originally just going to go and be like, here's your trophy, son, and thank you for being part of Kansas City. They got into a late playoff, one of the coolest rounds of golf I've ever seen in my life. And I ended up cheering with a bunch of people, and went home telling my wife, like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I was 70 blocks from where I live. I was not that far, and I got this kind of almost otherworldly experience in my town. And we were going to have so many nuggets of that all around the city. So get out and explore. I'd never been to a golf tournament before that. And I just said, you know what, let me see this. Let me be part of the spectacle, the crowds, the joy, the fun. And that's what I would suggest to anybody in Kansas City.
I had the same experience at Corn Ferry the first time I went because I had never gone to a professional golf outing before. And I'm like, I can't believe how good these guys are.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, guys that I didn't know anything about, I'm following them for 3 holes, and now I'm like emotionally invested in whether or not they succeed, and I'm cheering for them, and I'm getting upset. And I think there's a chance for that with the national teams that come here too. You form a relationship with some of the Dutch fans that are here. The next thing you know, you're learning their songs and their histories, and you get swept up in their success. Same with Argentina and Curacao and Algeria and all these things. You have an opportunity to all of a sudden go on a ride with a group of people that you didn't even know before. And so, yeah, I think that's a big component to it, right? Is making sure that we all embrace what's actually coming to our town.
No, it's so true. I'll go back to the studying abroad experience when I was in Southern Africa. I was in this country by the name of Namibia, just north of South Africa. And there had been some huge soccer match. I didn't know a thing about it. I was filling up the car with gas, petrol. And then all these dudes just come marching down the street. And I'm like, I want to know what that's all about. And so we end up kind of figuring it out, end up partying in the same area everybody did. I mean, that is the enthusiasm you get. Followed kind of the team after that, saw some of their successes, still have pride in talking about it 20 years later. And so I think that's what we get to have. And how cool is it when you think about the base camp presence in this city, the teams playing matches here? I mean, that is something that, you know, I think can last a lifetime. There'll be some kid from Topeka whose parents, you know, say, hey, Algeria's just down the street. Maybe we get a chance to see them, follow them, see how they can do. They're playing over at Arrowhead. Maybe there's a chance to catch that. And I think that is where the joy of this is for Kansas City in particular.
Okay, I really appreciate the fact that you're like, this is the fun part, you know, the hard part, the stress has already been there. But come on, there's got to be something that keeps you up at night a little bit. You're like, because you know everything ends up at your desk at the end of the day. What are some of the things that you that you stress about right now, or that you're just thinking about as you get ready for this? I mean, you know, this big moment that's on your doorstep.
You know how some of us have those like nightmares that like there's a high school test or something you didn't study for, and you realize you're in your 40s, and you're like, why is that still in my head?
Oh, I have that dream all the time. Right. I thought I dropped that class. It's first week, and then now I got to take the final.
All the time that happens to me. You know, for me, it is I get a call at like 3 a.m. and they say there are 5,000 Argentines at the KCI airport, and I'm like, oh, that's not supposed to be. And then, you know, I'm on the phone trying to be like, hey, can everybody get me every school bus, every police car, just be like, hey, can everybody just drive up and pick up 4 people and get them to where they need to be? I mean, I don't think that happens, but, you know, I think transportation, that is the worry area. And I'll give a vignette as to where it comes from. When the Royals were playing the Yankees in the postseason, 2 seasons ago, I was leaving leaving the Kauffman Stadium, and like we turn out on Stadium Drive, and I see 2 Yankees bros just like standing there on their phones, and I'm like, oh, God help them. They think that Uber is coming real quick to whatever spot they're in. And I almost wanted to be nice to my brethren from New Jersey and be like, look, man, you got to like go over here or figure out something, or just get a few beers and wait a little longer. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think the thousands of Argentinians like at the airport is going to be a thing. I do think that one thing, and you've seen this from soccer fans, that we need to be ready for is that if you are used to walking up to and including 7 or 8 miles between downtown and Arrowhead, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that, right? And if you're celebrating a match you just won, and if everybody's that thrilled, I still see, I'll be honest, I still have some concern that how do you control 10,000 happy people who say, yeah, we're going to take over, name your street, Stadium Drive, and we're just going to start marching back to wherever the heck we want to. And that's probably an area where I know we're trying to continue to do the communication with the team, but that makes me nervous because I was out in Rome for a wedding and found a soccer match. AS Roma was playing. I don't even remember who. And we ended up doing that 7-mile walk. And I was like, are people just doing this? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And was part of it. Wasn't tired. I was probably in my, late 20s. And it was normal. Rest of the night was a blast. We do need to be ready for that.
And be ready for the song Seven Nation Army to be sung, as these people go on the march. And there's a line about Wichita in that song, too. So, we can tie it all together locally. One of the things that I get from everybody, I'm sure you get this. I mean, as a guy who wrote a term paper about the Kansas City Chiefs, are we going to get to tailgate? Is there going to be tailgating? And I mean, some of that stuff is way beyond Kansas City's control. So what do you tell people when they ask you that question?
Look, we're trying to push them to have their revelry and their fun at establishments, elsewhere in the city. It's by and large, the FIFA company line is there is not tailgating. That being said, look, if you want to pay the money for it, they'll have all those securities outside. So once you get through security gate 1, there will be a huge place where I'm sure you can get food and drink for a price, and it'll be among that. If that's your thing, that's fine. Otherwise, I might suggest, if you're staying down on the plaza or out in Kansas or anywhere else, right, maybe get all your fun, your revelry in there. Come on in, get the experience, be part of the stadium atmosphere. It will not be quite the same of people who have their Chiefs bus that's been going for 28 years. They get to park in that same spot. Yeah,
this is just not going to be the parking that there is. It's not going to be a Chiefs style atmosphere for that. So that's just something that, that's part of the deal, but just like to make sure. And then the other thing that people ask about is, okay, we know Argentina is going to be in Kansas City. We know the Netherlands is going to be in Riverside. We know that England's going to be on the Kansas side. Are there going to be opportunities for fans to interact? And what do you know, at least at this point, about those things?
What I can share now is there will be opportunities for interaction. Those are being built out kind of bit by bit, and I think our countries are going to be different. I think what you'll end up seeing from some who, I'll just be honest, right, Argentina is the type of country that gets overwhelmed. I think there will probably be, somewhat ironically with that, more of a clamp down on opportunities to access, whereas I think you will catch a different story from Algeria, where, you want to see that base of support and others. And so I really encourage you to both follow the teams and obviously all of the venues as you're looking to say, all right, where can I get to lets my kids see a practice or lets them be a part of it? I believe each country will have a community engagement of some sort. That still is kind of being built out by FIFA, but what that means is there will be a chance to see players somewhere, to see that engagement, even if it's not a full-fledged practice. I appreciate that commitment that we're getting from all of our team partners.
Okay, here's what I want to know. I like the guy that grew up in Kansas. We were talking, Casey Moga, I'm a KCK guy. This guy that just grew up in Kansas City. Are you going to be rubbing elbows with like British royalty and like the prime ministers of other countries of the Netherlands and all these things? Like, what's that going to be like?
So, I mean, look, have you, I usually would say no chance. Have you heard, though, Argentina is moving their consulate in Chicago to Kansas City. They are moving the entire Chicago consulate. I don't know how many people that is. It's dozens who are moving down to Kansas City during the World Cup, which is just cool. I think they have.
There's nothing more important in the country of Argentina than what's going to be happening here over the next couple months.
Correct. Which is
nothing.
Amazing. And I think what you're also hearing is the ambassador will be coming at least. So they'll be coming out of Washington. And then I think probably the other question is just, which world leaders, how excited they get and that sort of thing, and how early. So I do expect us to see some very impressive dignitaries. You never know who will show up. I was at a big-time rugby match, and I turned around. I was like, oh my God, that's Rafael Nadal. I didn't, what? What's he doing?
What's up,
2
bro?
rows behind? And so that's probably going to be the most interesting part of it, that there will be these folks who, don't come through here a lot. Obviously, Kansas City, we've gotten used to seeing Taylor Swift, which is awesome. And every now and then, right, Chiefs game, you'll be like, oh, wow, I know that person. But I think this will be otherworldly. You never quite know who's a fan of which team or who has that interest, how they end up here. And so I do expect us to, kind of keep your eyes open. I don't want necessarily a ton of TMZ here,
Right.
but nonetheless, you'll probably have some fun run-ins like that.
I'm just going to go and say, if you can introduce me to Bukayo Saka from the England national team, I'm just putting that out there for you right now. Whatever strings you can pull. Okay.
I'll be like, hold on, my buddy's here. So Bukaty, let him through.
Let's wrap it up with this. We're going to do our five-a-side real quick.
Sir.
The question that I've asked everybody since we've been doing this show, it's a three-part question. When this is all over and the dust settles, what do you want people from other countries that come here from outside of Kansas City to say about this experience? What do you want the media to say about this experience? And what do you want people from Kansas City? So if you could take all three of those.
Yep. For the outsider, I think the first thing I want us to say, and this is a worrywart in me, there were no problems, right? That there's no story about something that didn't work or not enough bathrooms here or there. So we're really looking to try to pull off something that's as flawless as you can possibly have. For the more positive narrative, I want a lot of people thinking of Kansas City as an anchor of the Midwest. Look, Chicago is a big place. It's a great American city, all of that. But as they think about places to do business, to visit, I want them to say it's not just in this part of the country, Chicago, Houston, what have you, right? Kansas City is a center point for culture, all of that. And so that's a big part. I want people to know that, right, we're this cultural center, great business place and beyond. And then for Kansas Cityans, I want them to say that was one heck of an experience. Like, I loved hearing that. Quick story. I've got an older guy colleague who interned at the 1976 Republican convention at Kemper Arena. His dad was in sales and got him a thing. He said, that was real cool. I met Barbara Walters in 1976. I'm like, that's neat. And but it's also been 50 years. And I want people to build those types of lifetime experiences that say, this was awesome. It's something I'm going to talk about forever. But also for a Kansas Cityan, it encourages us not to let our feet off the gas. We need to keep saying, I liked being in the center of it all. And in the same way that Atlanta said, 96 Olympics, awesome. We want to be in the center of hip hop music. We want to be in the center of culture. We want to be this huge business place. That's what I want Kansas City to be.
Okay, we're going to do our five-a-side now. Now this, I don't know about you, this brings back some painful memories for me as a kid because I was always the last one picked when we were on the playground.
I know that's
when you're
right.
picking your teams. But we're gonna each pick our top five things to do in Kansas City for people that are visiting that are not sports related.
Okay.
So you get the honor of going first, and we'll just go back and forth till we come up with five apiece.
Okay, five. I'm going to go kind of in reverse order, although I'm going to make people mad. World War I Museum, which will be open. World War I Museum, worth a visit.
And we had the executive director on a previous episode. They got a soccer exhibit as well. That's going to be incredible. That's a great one. Okay, you took one of my favorite ones. I'm going to say this is not sports related, so you might have to give me a little leeway here. But I am going to say that the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, that's American history. That is world history. That is something that is going to teach you about the complications of this city and this country, as well as anything. It's a crown jewel. So you're going to give me that one? Is that okay?
I'll give it. Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll go back and forth. So I get to pick second. My second pick is going to be the J. Rieger and Company Distillery. I just love that place. I think it has a great history to it. It tells you about the westward expansion of the United States while also being a really cool venue celebrating the history of the speakeasies in this town and all those things. So check that out. That's my number two pick.
My number two is to go see live music. And I ain't talking about the big amphitheaters and all of that. Green Lady Lounge, the Phoenix, pick your poison. But just get some space, hopefully where you can get some good food before, and that will give you a good kind of classic jazz experience, the Blue Room too, of Kansas City.
So many great spots. The Phoenix is where Ryan Lefevre and I, a long time ago, 20 years ago, met every Tuesday night for about 2 years. Live music every night. Great awesome spots. Okay, you get one more pick. You get your third round pick now.
Okay. Third round for me. I'm going to say, this is a unique part of the country. And so, doing something that gives you kind of that historic town vibe, I would either say go to historic downtown Parkville or Mass Street in Lawrence, but get that vibe of Americana. And so I would say the Americana vibe, pick your place, but getting that kind of almost smaller town or college atmosphere vibe.
I love that. Downtown Parkville is such a hidden gem in this town, and you don't have to sell me as a Kansas grad on Mass Street. I'm going to say Loose Park.
Yeah.
Loose Park has always been one of my favorite places in the city. I think you see a wonderfully diverse collection of people that come together to do different things in Loose Park. The Rose Garden should be in bloom, I would think, during the World Cup, which is absolutely beautiful. And also you see some Civil War history if you go there. And I think that if you're going to visit this town and you want to learn about the complex nature of this city, the Civil War essence is really a huge part that kind of helps you understand where this town is located and how on the line so many things are. It's beautiful, and it's right next to the plaza as well. So I'll say Loose Park. I'm going to do a little tangent from what you said about Mass Street. And I'm going to say you got to take a pilgrimage to one of the greatest that's sports related. I can't do it. I was going to say Allen Fieldhouse and the original rules of basketball, but then that violates the rules that we have here, and I already kind of walked the line. That's just a subset, though. Go see Allen Fieldhouse and the original rules of basketball. Okay, let me see here. My fourth pick, I got to bring somebody to Kansas City, Kansas, to my hometown.
Yeah.
Check out the Taco Trail.
Oh, yeah.
Go to the KCK visitors website. They will give you a list. I almost don't want to name my top 2 or 3 favorite Mexican restaurants in Kansas City, Kansas, because I'll leave somebody out. Do the Taco Trail. You'll have some of the best authentic tacos that you've ever had in your life, and all kinds of other Mexican food as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to steal the food theme from you, and that was a great idea. And we haven't even mentioned barbecue yet.
That's kind of crazy.
Which tells
That's kind of crazy,
how cool Kansas City is. Find, and I say this, don't just do one barbecue place. It's almost like Philly cheesesteaks. People are like, go to this one or this one. No, the smart people do them both. You share them, you split them. And I would say, really, all of them are wonderful. And so I'm not going to pick just one other than to say, feel free to get off the beaten path a little bit too, whether that takes you to KCK and a Slaps and LC's, right? Obviously, Q39, OG, Joe's. I mean, there are just so many Gates I didn't mention yet. See, this is where you get in trouble if you start talking. It's like
Slaps.
Jack Stack. We love everybody, but make sure that you get some good Kansas City barbecue. There's vegan barbecue. We'll have that. Kosher. We got y'all covered. Just make sure you eat it.
Man, okay. My last pick. It's tough to try to pick one last thing, right? To focus on. I'm going to tell people to go to Weston, Missouri.
Yeah.
Get yourself a little bit outside of the city.
Yep.
You can check out incredible bed and breakfasts there. You can find an Irish bar that's in a cave.
Exactly.
You can sample some great local food and products and things like that. There's so many different areas. I guess I could go more generic, but I'm just trying to give you one specific one. I'm a huge fan of going to Weston, Missouri. It's a great place to visit, and you get a little sense of that. I think if people come to Kansas City, they're going to want to see the urban nature of Kansas City, but they're also going to want to feel some of that old West,
That's exactly right.
You get that in Weston.
No, that is brilliant. And see, I'm gonna, we're not supposed to do sports. Don't want to cheat.
I'll let you have whatever you want this last pick.
Although I will tell you, this came up with Chats with England.
Okay.
Golf courses.
Oh yeah.
They're very.
They know about Tom Watson in England. Let me tell you that.
They are very, and I think there are many reasons that Swope Park got a team practicing there. That being said, a not small immaterial reason was the fact that there's a golf course that is opening up anew, by the way,
beautiful,
right next to them. So I would encourage someone. One joy of America is, we have space. You have access to all of these things. You can come here, have fun, good drinks, food, but also recreate, hit up one of our courses while you're here.
And one of the great things, too, about Kansas City, the golf courses are actually a microcosm of the diversity of this town. You can play so many different styles of golf courses in Kansas City, where in most places in the world you go to, it's like all the courses are somewhat similar in that region.
Yep.
Here, you've got massively hilly elevation change type golf courses. You got links golf courses. You got prairie land. You've got forestry. You've got whatever you want to play, and you almost have the opportunity to. That's a great shout.
Yeah.
And Swope is a beautiful area.
It is a gorgeous course. We put a few $1 million in. Make sure you get out there once it opens.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else before I let you go, Mayor Lucas? I feel like we covered a lot.
Man, I'm excited. You know, the weirdest thing that I think we should host, although I don't know, you already host enough, but like, I feel like you could do like a morning talk show about the World Cup, like wake up World Cup Kansas City every single day. I think there'll be that much energy and excitement. So, hopefully everybody's as hyped as we are after listening to all this.
Well, what you do is you watch the Heart and Gold podcast in the morning, and then it becomes a morning podcast. You can watch. That's the great thing about podcasts. You can watch whatever you want.
Great point.
Mayor Lucas, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for what you're doing for Kansas City to help us in this big moment. And good luck with everything, and congratulations.
And read the book, everybody.
Yeah.
Looks good.
The book will give you a lot of other ideas about the history of Kansas City and what to do. All right, that is Mayor Lucas. And that is going to do it for this edition of the Heart and Gold podcast. We are so close to this World Cup. We can smell it. We can taste it. We can feel it. And we're so excited. And we want to thank our sponsor, Sporting Kansas City. By the way, they're on pause right now for the World Cup, but they'll be back at it as soon as the World Cup's over. And they're going to have all kinds of great activations at Sporting Park during the course of this World Cup as well. So make sure that you follow that. Make sure you like, subscribe, write a review, do everything you can for this podcast to keep us going. And we will see you next time.